Good Wednesday morning. This is Grace, and I've had some things on my mind. I don't know, maybe a month or so, and I never got around to doing a video on it, but I feel this need now. And it goes back to, I'm going to tell some stories. Okay, back in when I was in high school, I guess might have been the 9th or 10th grade, so it was in the late 70s, 1970s, and I I joined the debate club, debating team. Went to all the seminars. We had to go, get on buses and go to these seminars. And I took notes and studied it really hard. How to debate, the right way. And I still remember a lot of it, but some of it I've forgotten still. And we learned a lot. And one was that you never attack your opponent. It just shows you as being childish. People don't really think, your argument, your debate is any good because what you're trying to say is because you're attacking the person. Okay, that's one thing I definitely remember. So at some point, we went through all these seminars. Me and two of my friends, we went, females, and after a while, I heard something. We're in all these seminars, and I had chemical allergies, didn't know it, coughing, had anxiety. That was before I got on medication for diabetes, and yeah, I had this anxiety and everything, but I stuck to it. I wanted to learn everything there was about debating. And then one day I heard that females were not allowed to debate. Females. And I asked my coach, the one that led our whole team at our school. And he told me, he said, yeah, you can't debate, you're female. And I said, I was just shocked. And I asked why. He said, because you're female. I said, why? I was stunned. But he said that that's the rules. Females can't debate. And that's all there is to it, and walked off. I was just shocked. Okay, totally shocked. But that wasn't the last of my shocks. And it wasn't the first, but I'm starting there. Okay, like I said, it wasn't my first. I probably should have started there. Before then, I had grown up hearing that females, the females who were adults, needed to learn that they needed to stay home and in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant kind of thing, because it was men who needed to go out and work and have the jobs and make the money, and the women needed to learn their place. Yeah. So I shouldn't have been so shocked when I was told in high school that females couldn't be on the debating team. Actually, they could join the club and they could learn, but they couldn't actually debate. Had to go to any of the debates and be a part of the debate. Okay, then not long after that, when I was 18, I got married, and I went to change my driver's license, and I was asked about my last name, and that's I said, well, I'm married and I'm keeping my last name, and I was told, no, you can't. I was told if you don't change your name to his last name, then therefore the Social Security office can fine and or imprison you. And again, I was shocked. It doesn't end there. Okay, pardon one of my dogs. He's been sick. Now he's feeling better. Yeah, he's making noise. Anyway, a few years later, okay, so that was 82, say around 85, 1985, I was working at a place. It was a temporary job, and there were a bunch of us women sitting around, a table, desk. And one of them, she was close to retirement age. And she told us, she said, you young people don't know how good you have it. And I was thinking to myself, really now? And she said, in my age, when I was your age, she said, I couldn't own any property. I couldn't have it in my name. It would have to be, if you're married, or she's talked about credit cards, checking accounts, bank accounts of any kind, that it had to be that she was MRS, Mrs. I can't even say it anymore. Don't say it. And his first name, his last name. Okay, so Mrs. Joe Smith. Okay, she couldn't have her name, her first name, anywhere. She couldn't open up anything with just her name. And I was sitting there and I'm listening to her stories, and I was just appalled because I was thinking, I said, what year was that? And she'd say it, and I said, wow, I was alive during that time. In my lifetime, these kinds of things happen. Yeah, well, I learned a lot after that too. And that still in my lifetime, these things were happening. Like, I just mentioned, had to put my name, change it to his. And yes, I went to banks and I'd say, I want my last name hyphenated. I don't like the term maiden name. Maiden name and his last name. You can't do that. I said, why can't I? And you just can't do it. You can't have your last name on there. And by then, we could put our first names. We could open up our own checking account. And I said, well, if you want my money, you put my last name like I want it. And they would. Okay. I stood my ground. And that wasn't the only time I stood my ground. And the next one, it's quite a story. Okay. Now, let's move to the late 1980s. I bought a house. We bought a house. I was still married then. We bought a house. And it was right next door. I've mentioned this in my last video. Next door to my mom's house. And I went with my mother to go and have the electricity turned on. Now, you had to go back then down to the place. It was in town and stand in line and all this and to get it, fill out the application in by hand and all that. So I went with my mother. Now, my mother, I'm saying this right. Don't think I'm saying it wrong. She was a liberal Republican. And if you want to see how confusing it could be, my dad was a conservative Democrat. So, yeah, I said those right. So I went with my mother. Now, I get in line and I fill out the application and I fill my name and I fill, in his name and, my then husband. And that would be Adam. And I gave the application to the woman's, the clerk. And she went to the back. She came back and she said, she asked me, she goes, well, who's this? And I said, that's my husband. His name. She goes, well, his name, you have to fill it out again because his name has to be first on the application. I said, what do you mean his name has to be first? And she said, that's how it is. I said, why? Why is a question I ask quite a lot here. Used to these days. Well, anyway, so I asked why. And my mother's standing there, she's kind of patting me. She sees I'm getting riled up. And she said, don't do it, don't do it. I said, no, I want to know why. And she went back in the back and she come back and she said, well, the manager says you have to. That's just how it is. That's the law. You have to. I said, well, get your manager out here. I want to speak to your manager about this. I want to find out why. And it was a woman. And she came back. She says, she says, no, you just have to do it. If you want electricity, you have to put his name first. And he is the man. And then I said, really now? Why? And she kind of looked, she goes, I don't know. I don't get it either. That's just wrong. Well, yeah, I couldn't get the electricity on unless I put his name first on the application. Got out to the, me and my mom, I was riled up by that time. Oh, yes, I was very riled up. And I got out to the car. My mom, went to get in on the other side, and she looked over the car at me, and she said, you know what? She said, you're right. That's wrong. And all the while we were in there, she was saying, calm down, calm down, calm down. I wasn't making a total fool of myself or something, screaming. I was just saying, why? And she was saying, you're right. That's wrong. Why just because you're female, your name can't be first? And she was just as appalled as I was, about it. So there's more. Oh, yes, there's plenty. Okay, actually, I left out a story happened about a year or maybe 2 years right before that. And the short version of that one was that I was told that I had to quit a job because having a woman, yes, a woman, on a job was trouble for them. And it was dangerous for them. I had been doing this job for like 2 years. And it was going to be hard on them for their workers' compensation if something happened to me because I'm female. Well, I quit because they gave me no choice, but you had to quit. And they saw that the production, it wasn't a production really job, but, that things weren't getting done. So they begged me to come back. Yeah. So, in my lifetime, because I'm a woman, I couldn't do a job. They told me that I had to quit. Now, I can tell more stories, but after that, seriously, after that, things started, starting in the 1990s, you started to see a big change. And but then again, you still had people who were just backwoods kind of folks that still believed women should stay home barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. And I know it was back in, I think, 2008 or 2009. I actually heard a woman around my age, I was in my 40s then, say things like that a woman shouldn't be pregnant because, I mean, not pregnant, pregnant because she is too hormonal no matter what age. And I'm wondering, we've become more enlightened that men have hormonal mood swings too. But no, this woman, she was such a, oh my goodness. She just believed women were bad and women were bad and men were great, and everybody should stand up to stand down to their authority and all this. And now it seems like the people who are taking, who live the privilege of how things have changed since then, they live the privilege. They don't even know that it probably exists. They're fighting against it. And they're of course, saying things, twisting the words, and picking out someone that they say represents this whole group, and which doesn't, whatever they're fighting against, which one person doesn't. It could be the one person. We all know, you go to a job, you have one person who's, at least that one person who's going to cause problems and it doesn't fit in. But they pick that one person, and then or two people maybe, somebody that represents how this other thing is wrong, and they're living the privilege. They're living it that these people, the other ones, fought for. Yeah, it's sad to see. And of course, we're the ones who are, poor them. We're the ones who are picking on them when it's really the other way around. Enough of this for now. I'll talk to you later. Bye.